Hey, welcome to my video. Welcome to my page. You probably noticed something a little different. I'm not holding any instruments or preparing to play any songs. I'm doing something a little different today. Something I'm not going to do often because this is a primarily music channel. I don't have any aspirations to be like a professional YouTuber or anything like that. My videos are mostly something I do for fun, for anybody who wants to watch them, for myself, and just I like to do the covers to keep from getting rusty while I wait for means to record new music. But today I'm going to be talking about a political issue, which I know a lot of people don't like musicians to mix politics, but this particular issue is very important to me, and it was one of the main things that shaped my political ideology. So I'm going to just, for a couple minutes, just say my views on it. Since the changed election cycle, I'll be scrolling my news feed on Facebook, and you'll notice like a lot of companies, a lot of TV companies and just environmental companies will post things about like TV shows that are like LGBT themed or anything about like climate science. Basically anything that is like a change gets 99% backlash from right-wingers. Anything that even mentions the word climate change or, anything like that, it's always socialism, communism, government control. I mean, we're not even talking like Green New Deal. We're talking just anything about climate science. It's just nobody wants to hear about it. Everybody's angry. Everything's woke. That's like the new word for anything that right-wingers disagree with now is woke. They're not handling the election loss well. And I think that's a big part of it, is they just haven't gotten over it yet. Well, now we're seeing these types of reactions to advocations to force wage increases, companies that want to increase wages, and just the general idea of the government forcing jobs to pay more. And it's the same thing, same kind of reaction, but this kind of like bothers me more because those same assumptions are made. Government overreach, it's a communist agenda just to try to get wages to match inflation. And those are the assumptions that are made about these companies. They're communists, they're socialists, they have a government control agenda. Okay, now, when I see things like this about these economic issues, here's the assumptions that I make about you. I assume that you are an overpaid employer that pays the least that they have to, that they expect the most of their employees and don't understand when they don't treat it like a real job. You overcharge your customers for your products. You hate giving raises. You don't like to fix things when they break in the facility. And you just come off like a general cheapskate who just sits in an air-conditioned cubicle watching everyone else do all the work. And these economic advocations negatively impact you. And that's the reason for the outrage. That's the impression I get. I'm not seeing a socialist communist thing. I see some overpaid cheapskates that just don't want to move up the wages. I think it's outrageous that the focus is on keeping the pockets lined at the top versus the workers whose pockets were never lined because wages have been stagnant since 2009. And you're just sitting there watching everyone else do all the work. Keep your business going. The focus is also never on the fact that a lot of these bigger corporations are paying less federal taxes than the workers. And in my job experiences, any employer where you have to poke them and prod them to pay a living wage or to even not rip the employees off, it's never these small businesses. It's never the people that don't need it. The biggest abuse of capitalism in my work life was probably the wealthiest company I've ever worked for. It's a multi-million-dollar car dealership. We were lucky to get paid for the time we were there. It was that bad. And they just keep getting new locations. They just keep moving up. Like, it's disgusting. It's truly disgusting. And this is the reason for the government to need to intervene. Whenever people say that a forced wage increase will bankrupt the economy and close businesses, they are lying to you. They're telling you you're going to get freebies because they don't want to give up the freebies they've been getting, which is your labor. Your labor. So regulations, if you hate them so much, just realize it has nothing to do with government control. It's because of you. It's because of these employers. It's not because the government wants to control everything. It's because people got to keep eyes on these clowns to make sure they're paying their employees correctly, because they haven't done it on their own. They haven't done it on their own. And I'll tell you what, the businesses that have chosen without government prodding to raise the wages on their own, they're not having these woes with workers, not finding workers. And any business I know of that raise their wages, I go in there, I get great service. There's plenty of people working. Like, if people aren't wanting to work for you, the problem might be you. You're last in line you're last in line to just do the basic thing and realize that inflation don't stop. People act like if you raise wages under a government legislation that it's going to increase inflation, but that doesn't make sense because it inflates no matter what. So if we are at the point now where the government has to keep eyes on employers to make sure that nothing shady is going on in the workplace, you can't really blame the government for that. So I'll tell you what isn't going to work for you. What isn't going to work for you is strawmanning the workers who have chosen not to come back to you post-COVID. They haven't chose to come back to you, and these COVID relief things that people are getting, it's not like they're funding their way of life. It's not like they're paying all their bills. It's just a monthly thing from the government. So if that isn't as much as what they were getting from you, that sounds like a you problem. It's a you problem. You got to pay for a work ethic. It's not government control. And there's been several times with right-wingers that government control was fine when it's something that gets them all up in their feelings, like this law in Texas that just passed. That's huge government, and it's also unconstitutional, and everybody's fine with it. They're just thinking of it as saving lives. Yeah, you save lives, and then once they're born, you just throw them into a world and not give a shit. Like, another time big government control is okay is when Trump wanted to fire all the NFL people who were taking a knee. I mean, that's also, it's like, when it's something that gets you all up in your feelings, you'll advocate for government control to the point where where you're disregarding the Constitution. So I don't think it's about government control. I think it affects you some way. I think you want to just keep things the way they are because it benefits you. It benefits the people on top. You got to pay for a work ethic. And I'm going to wrap this up. As time has gone on, trickle-down economics has failed. It's always failed, but people know it more now. And love Biden or hate Biden, his administration is bringing that message to the forefront. Now, whether he's going to do anything about it or not, or whether he's just copying Bernie Sanders' rhetoric, remains to be seen. But if you demonize the workers, they're not going to come back. They're the ones keeping it running for you. I mean, if you're paying your worker $10 an hour and you're selling a product for $10 and these people sell 10, they just made you more money than they made themselves and they do all the work. I mean, and that's just like a small example. So you got to pay for a work ethic. Don't pay for shit. Don't expect shit. So it's not nobody's taking away your economic choice. You just need to pay your workers. And if you can't do that, the only economic choice they're going to have is to quit. And I hope that's exactly what they do.